Howdy. Howdy there, everybody. How we all doing?
Oh, happy days. Feeling joyful, don't have any resentment. It's great.
Well,
Just
good.
need the vaccines now. That's it.
That'll be the last piece.
Yeah. All in due time. How are you doing?
Good, good. Keeping busy over here, that's for sure. I've been moving a lot of stuff around on the yard, so it's nice. We just got a brand new 40-foot container, so there's been a lot to do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm building a spray booth actually between the two of them, so we'll be able to have storage for all the hatches stuff. I'm going to be able to have free public storage, and then we're going to be able to cover everything.
Wow, great. Yeah, it's always storage is needed.
Absolutely. How's it going, Jess?
Pretty good. Just walked in the door.
Right on.
Yeah, we got the cart set up. We're at the gallery.
Oh,
Got all the casters on the art racks.
I'll be there tomorrow morning just to check on things, but last week everything looked fine. No
Yeah, it's
leak.
gonna look different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Paula checked in with Benjamin. All seems good there. And I think what else was going on. I don't know, just the usual. A lot of grants. Yeah.
That's the name of the game right now.
Yeah. Is Hatch gonna apply for the what was the other one? The general operation grant from California Arts Council.
Yeah, I think we are. I was considering trying to do the impact projects also.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was looking maybe trying to do that one and possibly the jump starts. Part of the way that I'm making my headspace work right now is really compartmentalizing the work I'm going to be doing for later to later. So I have to finish my presentations for the commission. And next week, I'm going to open the door really strong on the Arts Council grants.
Yeah, no, one of them's due like the 2nd.
Yeah, the second. That's the
Yeah.
impact, at least.
Yeah. Then there's also the Cal Humanities Quick and Program Grant we just found.
Yeah,
But the program grant is the one that's due first.
Yeah, Mondays and Wednesdays are my grant days. Hi there, Angie. How's it going?
Good. Happy Thursday.
Yeah.
I meant to record earlier, but
Like I mean, they're just all over the internet. And here's one that says, as leaders of North America's public libraries, we are committed to achieving racial and social equity by contributing to a more just society in which all of community members can realize their full potential. You know, I mean, it goes on, but everybody's kind of starting with a leading statement like that. We're committed to.
I'm wondering what we think, having seen a couple examples now, what, like, in addition to what we see, if there's things that we feel is important that we say, like, for our specific context. Does anyone has any ideas, like, what does equity mean to you, kind of thing, especially in the context of arts?
Accessibility to artists of all
Mhm.
types, stripes, ages, type of art, you know, I mean, the broadest sense that you can write that.
all right. Link is in the chat. If anyone wants to add notes to this. I didn't
Awesome.
do a jammed where I just did a doc. And at the same time, we do want to be specific in the arts that we work with. We're not granting out money. So I think with the Arts Council, their language is a lot about how they fund different arts projects. We deal with showing of artwork. We deal with classes and workshops. We deal with selecting instructors and bringing in students.
Well, I think that's a really great point. A really good way of looking at this is like specifically, what are the spaces that the Art League can focus on, where equity can exist. Like, who are the artists that are represented in the membership? What's displayed on the gallery walls? That sort of stuff, and making commitments about. And then, is it just the accessibility at this point? Because it doesn't seem like there's anything that's necessarily hyper reflective about these statements. They seem more affirmative and forward facing.
For me, I feel like one of the important things for me in an equity statement is kind of acknowledgements of specific kind of histories of the place. So, for example, I feel like a land acknowledgement for the Miwok and Yokuts people would be great. I feel like also honoring and acknowledging the specific communities that we have in Stockton. So, like Filipino people, Filipinx people, Latinx people, Punjabi and South Asian, like African American communities, like specifically like naming and honoring communities here in Stockton that have been kind of, especially ones that have been kind of marginalized. So I feel like naming specifically kind of is helpful, because, you know, we're the Stockton Art League, right? Like, I'm hearing that there's a lot of kind of like corporate, like we got to do this language, but I feel like it's great to take an opportunity to, make it reflect who we are.
And Amal, I'm gonna also screen share real quick. I didn't show the above section for the council, and they actually do have, what is the council, their membership. But then they also have a land acknowledgement, which was new to me, especially when I attended that webinar, which was the beginning of the meetings that we acknowledge, the land that we are on. And there's actually a statement that the facilitator would lead with, and it's sometimes it's a little bit different. Everyone has their own way of starting that. But right here is exactly what you're talking about. And this is the other thing is like, how do we write this? Is it supposed to be separate, like how they have it here? Is this more of a preference, the way they have them separated from their equity statement versus, an acknowledgement? Because I see it's like clearly between an acknowledgement, mission, vision, and equity statement.
And I don't see any problem with using that as a outline and filling in the blanks, because when like some of the grants that we do too, they want to see it. They want to see that you've checked off all these things. And some of this, certainly it's about the ending document, but it's about the conversation we're having as a group. It's about this conversation in the first place. They want to know that you've had the conversation. They want to know that you're thinking about it, that you're applying it. Even if we just took that as an outline and then filled it in, it becomes a recognizable type document that everybody's used to, just like a balance sheet, just like an income and expense statement in finances. I mean, don't confuse this with art. It's the context that it's important for us, but the subsequent document is just a legal document, really.
And even their purpose is a little bit different. So
Yeah.
I have that one in there too.
And I think it's great too to focus on education, like what we do at Jessica, like showing an education. And I think it's great to recognize, like I feel like I can write it out, but we recognize that opportunities for showing art and arts education have predominantly favored like cis white men in the past, and we are committed to like we are committed to opening a broader platform for people regardless of their identities and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
And I think one thing we also need to keep in mind is we have to use common vocabulary on an equity statement. That way, when someone reads it, they know like what we're talking about. Like attending the California Arts Council webinar, everyone's like, okay, everyone list what lands you're from. And there's like half of us were like, we don't know. And we didn't know how to introduce ourselves. So there was like a good 200, everyone knew what they were supposed to say. And then there was the other 50 of us lagging on how to respond and introduce ourselves. Like what land are we from? Who we are, some people still, struggling with what pronouns to use, she, her, what else is there? Her. So, and I think having some of that dialogue, especially because we're a smaller county, would be kind of good too, to have on the website saying, this is what this means. We're not San Francisco, so it's not like we're going to see it everywhere and everyone understands.
Definitely, I'm all about reflecting place and writing from this place and as a writer. So reflecting the Delta, reflecting the agriculture, reflecting the you know, the confluence of all the rivers, what it means to, you know, protect the rivers and the ecology of the whole watershed that is our area. And I don't know, I think the place is really important.
That's amazing. I'm gonna add that as well. Because like land justice is a huge part of like eco justice is like inseparable from racial justice as well. So mm, um
Well, and it does become social justice because if you don't take care of the land and the water, I mean, you know, people with the least amount of resources towards those protections end up with the most disease, end up with the most other critical problems with, which is, you know, being sustained on the land. You know, I mean, look at Flint, Michigan. That's all you have to say. I mean, look at the selenium problems of the Southern County. Look at what big ag does to communities, pretty much, you know. We were pretty much, we were the bread basket or the fruit basket or the whatever, not the bread, the vegetable basket of the world. And now we're the just grapes. I mean, oh my God, we become such a monoculture of grapes and almonds, and they suck up so much water.
yeah, and any I feel like anything that like I mean gets written or we write, then we can go through and make sure like we can have like Jessica in terms of regarding the concern of having like accessible language, which is really important, like reviewing it and making things simpler. And I feel like words are coming to me right now and they're just the way they're coming to me, but I know that there's like better ways to write it, but I'm just gonna like write it and then we can go through.
Jessica, you want to scroll down to the bottom at some point too and just put bullet points of things of our successes already? What do we already consider? You know, how do we show that we're actually already doing that? Is the board diverse? I've had strides made. I mean, really this year, the diversification in the board has been significant. We should pat ourselves on the back. I mean, you know, with Elazar and Amal and Angie, I mean, it's a huge leap forward to an inclusive board of directors. And so basically you could start right there. I mean, what have we done? What kind of programs have been offered that are different from the past that reflect a movement towards this in terms of either the kids or the grants that have been applied for, or, you know, I know the board is huge right there.
I'm thinking of scholarships that we've offered.
Mhm.
I'm saying affordable programs being, free demonstrations, no fee gallery. And part of
maybe-
it also,
Maybe say, I can ask Amy or any of the rest of you who are artists, what about the actual art that's been shown? Has that opened up? Is that different? Is it different now than it was 5 years ago?
Danny, could you respond to that one?
Definitely, because when I was checking out the various art galleries and trying to find a place to show my work, I just felt really strange when I came into the Goodwin and sort of the reception of saying, well, that's not really art that we would want to show. So things have really changed in the last 5 years. And I think things really opened up in terms of more acceptance of diverse work, different groups, at least to show their, what I'm thinking is the collective. That was really something that put us out there, saying that we were much more open to more of the abstract art than before.
I mean, when I was a reporter for the Record and I would have to review the annual Art League show, I would just say, if I have to write about another technically executed watercolor of irises, I'm going to spit.
And so I'm looking through a few different equity statements, and it does seem like there's kind of swinging back to what Paula was talking about earlier, there does seem to be a pretty well-defined structure broadly, where an organization begins with kind of an identification of the space that it's in, and then creates an affirmation, and then they all have this bullet point list at the end. To do this, we seek to, or as we work, we commit to, and then there's a bunch of bullet points.
I'm gonna go make some tea, you guys. I'll be right back.
So I think if we even start to create that outline a little bit here, because as we have these discussions, you know, we might be kind of speaking into some of those different buckets already. Like some of these points are about where things have been. Some of these points are about just a discussion about the issue. And then some of these points are really leading us straight into those commitments.
I'm going to see if I can pull up some language of how we describe the space already.
You know, maybe part of this is also like in recognition of the you know, historical role of the Stockton Art League and the Elsie Mae Goodwin Gallery. You know, there's the institutional memory, maybe just making something in this document that really speaks to the fact that, you know, in recognition of the fact that what happens in this organization speaks with the weight of the history.
Yeah, as Stockton's oldest, like I don't know if I'm muted or not, Stockton's oldest arts organization, you're saying like with that, like acknowledging that we have kind of weight, like clout in that sense?
Something like that, yeah, yeah. Because, you know, to kind of define a little bit of the space in between, like what the bureaucratic language is and what the functional edge is, you know, like by highlighting some of those points, it moves the conversation more forward, you know, like taking bigger steps into feel like a field that doesn't really have too much. This is something that we've been encountering with Hatch a lot, where like a lot of the topics that we try to talk about, people don't even have a vocabulary to discuss. And so a lot of times we're talking like a step away from what the actual issues are, especially when talking about inclusion, diversity, and some of these, you know, really complex ideas.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, at the very bottom, just put in what's on our about page. But some of the things I think would be important is, you know, we work
Yeah,
with
that was on the website.
disabled youth, free, open to the public, accessibility programs, and non-juried membership programs.
Yeah, Elazar, you got me thinking along the lines of something that always gets me. It's yeah, like recognizing that like language of justice and inclusion and diversity and all of these things, you're right, there's like a language issue. I think Jessica talked about that as well. And it's not just like a language gap, it's like it's a ways of relating, you know what I'm saying? It's like language and all the power relations that they enable. And I think that while some stuff like ideally is common sense, I think people really kind of underestimate like how much this is like knowledge, and it takes education, and that education takes work. And that's why it's kind of really frustrating when folks are just like, well, we have some brown people here, black and brown people here, so we're all good. Like, and actually, like, it's a lot of labor and it's a lot of education that is kind of, you know, given that is not actually kind of fully appreciated generally, or
Absolutely.
yeah, like both for giving and receiving and relating like around it, because that's what it's about, is about finding new ways of relating to people like that respect people more.
And a lot of the language that builds the informed perspective, through what we encounter in our ways, it's encoded language, and then you get really used to encoded language, and then you get other language that encodes the encoded language, and it becomes so complex that you're able to have an extremely high level discussion in a few words, but you're only talking to a small group of people. And some of the craft, I think, of navigating this space is like straining out the pieces from that highly encoded space that give people a perspective of how far there is to travel. You know what I mean? So within these conversations, it's really important to kind of hold both spaces, especially here in Stockton, where the reality is like very far from, maybe some of the experiences of the spaces that we've held.
Yeah, which is why, for example, I think saying racial equity is great, but I think it's not enough. I think naming specifically like white supremacy and anti-blackness and things like that. I'm all for being direct and
Yeah.
transparent.
Yeah. And creating a document that has direct and transparent language is an accurate reflection of Stockton. Because people around here, they don't beat around the bush too much.
And I think when we're making this statement, we want to bring healing rather than confusion. And so as much as I want to be direct, sometimes it's an approach that turns people off, especially those who need to be educated. And I'm a little concerned about that, honestly, of like how we're going to word this in a way that gets people really thinking about how we address the space in a good way. Like we're including people, we're making it accessible, we're not turning people away. I was one of those people that got turned away from the gallery originally. So why? Maybe because it's my age, I don't know. But people stick it out, but we still need things that there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, you're right, Jessica. The thing about people being turned away, like I've heard that story I've recently heard that story a bunch of times, and I feel like heading up the statement pretty close to the beginning, just straight up addressing that the gallery was a community like open enroll like is open to everyone who wants to become a member, and we do not vet or discriminate based on age, race, like having that clear, like as clearly and concisely, like more concisely than I've said it, like towards the top. I feel like that is essential, because maybe this is, like a direct kind of like one of the direct start to changing that impression. Like y'all not the start of it, because y'all have done like a bunch of kind of change that like people's impression of it, but maybe the first one in writing to like directly address it and say we don't do that anymore, basically, or we don't do that now.
And we also have to address the premise of art galleries as being a place that you're vetted from. Even the most equitable, open, has a diversity of artists gallery is always going to kick somebody out because they're making money. And so, but we're not that. We're a nonprofit art space, public art space, which is very unique in just the general art world. And how do we
here's
get
the
that across?
here's the balancing act right here is vetting talent. That's you can apply all the age, sex, gender, blah blah you want.
Yeah.
But if an art gallery is no longer an arbiter of talent, then you take all art.
Except we don't
and you
do that,
take
do
people
we?
where they are, and you don't judge whether they're talented or not. See, that's the other why you don't get in the door. Well, your art's not like our art. It's not as good as our art, or whatever. And if you take an arts organization now and break it out where you say art should be for everybody, and everybody should do art to his or her potential, his or their potential, then you can have other competitions along the way to decide and judge. But that's the first thing you got to break down right there, is to say anybody can walk in and display anything, and there will be no judgment as to whether or not it's art.
Yeah.
That's breaking it down absolutely to the bone. I think my tea's ready. But and because I had that experience with a dance company. So dance companies, you have a certain body type, you have certain training, you have certain, rehearsal expectations. Well, I joined a modern dance company that had women in their 60s. people of all color and all shapes and sizes, and we created a company. There's companies called Right to Move and like that, where it's basically the human being has a right to sing, to dance, to play, to move, to create, to design. And we're going to break down all these artificial things that have all been white cisgender derivatives of hierarchy, who's good, who's not, who's in, who's out. And you're breaking all that down to make art accessible.
I think another point within all that also is that a lot of people who have a lot of talent feel uncomfortable, recognizing it or activating their own potential because maybe there's nobody around or they don't see a community where it fits in. And so a space like the Art League can be like a gateway to professional development for people who are sort of into making stuff but they don't know, and then you get involved in the Art League and so it's like it's functional. I think, and that's really, when we talk about these things, this is what I think about a lot over here. It's like, how do we, make the actions really reflect these ideas and then just put words to what's happening as opposed to just talking around it. And so like, I think what Paula was saying, it's that's a really good point to, speak to in terms of like, what is the character of this organization? Maybe that's something that goes earlier into it.
I'm sure we're gonna keep working on this for like after the meeting, but while we're all together, I want to be mindful of making sure like everyone gets to like add their opinion. So we haven't heard much from Amy or Alicia or Angela. So if any of you have any thoughts or reflections or opinions like of any sort, they think we'd be welcome.
Looking at this, what comes to mind is we really had this exception where when we had the art of Rudy Bondi, and he had nudes. And the problem that since we're a public gallery, people would say, well, children shouldn't be seeing this. And so we ran into the difficulty where we had to tell Rudy we couldn't show his art. But then he brought up the thing about the rights of an artist. Okay, you can't say you can't have this type of art. And so we came close to getting a suit against us. He said, because you discriminated against me, I have a right to sue you. Even though he didn't do that, but he just said, hey, you really have to watch the line that you have within the gallery of what you're going to show.
And I think along those lines, arts are protected, expression is protected for reasons so you aren't discriminated against. And within that situation, it was, and I think this is why we need an equity statement, is that this is the stance of the organization, whether individuals don't believe exactly the whole statement. And I don't know how to remedy that necessarily, but we are setting up the stance of the organization, and it will, produce fruit moving forward.
And some people may leave.
And some people may leave, and that's okay.
Because if they want the organization to be an arbiter of art and by being in, they're in, and they don't believe other people should be in, they may want to go to another more exclusive type organization.
Yeah. But that's not the purpose of the Art League. So this is a statement of saying we are open, we are providing an opportunity for people to show art, experience art.
I think it's also interesting to note that
Amy unmuted herself. Were we gonna say something?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, because we haven't heard from you, so.
Yeah.
I know I forgot where my unmute button is, and I'm listening.
Right, Lazar.
I was just gonna say that it's kind of interesting the disconnect between where Stockton's population is compared to like what the average arts community would look like, and then the Stockton Arts League sort of as like a middle ground between those things, because the like Paula was talking about, the history of the Arts League is capital A institutional art sort of on Main Street, and now it's something different. you know, and sort of defining the fact that it's you know, it's an opportunity for people, and developing the greater Stockton area, like for like grounding the identity of arts within Stockton for everybody. You know, like here in the heart of Stockton, there's something that's, you know, meant for anybody to be able to go and share art, talk about art, see art, learn about art. And, you know, it's been there forever, and it's going to continue, you know, rolling out. You know, there's something to me that really feels, I think, unified about that.
Now, if you go back to like the 50s and 60s in Stockton, basically you could say that the Art League was white. And if you went down to the Filipino Center, Filipino community, you would find a celebration of Filipino art. If you went into the Chinese community, you would find a celebration of Chinese art. And the ethnic groups had their own, you know, very distinct artistic expressions, both with dance groups, artistic types of displays, festivals, etc. And with the community becoming more and more and more, it's weird to use the word homogenized because it isn't homogenized, but mixed together in a sort of a common purpose towards art. I mean, it isn't enough just to break down the white art. It's important to break down the solely Black or solely Chinese or solely any other group too, because what if I want to show in one of those groups? What if, I mean, basically everybody is, has to think about this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, and also like because we live in a country of white supremacy, white only spaces have always held a certain amount of violence like that they perpetrate rather than like, for example, you know, um like a queer club, for example, which came because of discrimination, and it's not like, you know, it's not creating the same violence. Or like, you know, the Mexican Heritage Center, for example, is created because, you know, Mexican artists weren't showed in other places. And so like I feel like our goal isn't like making and those kind of power hierarchies still exist. So that's why like white only space or spaces are predominantly white, like, you know, have more of an issue and need more attention towards shifting and changing than, for example, like people of color only spaces, which are actually sometimes really, like I can speak from experience, are sometimes really necessary for healing and change. So just to kind of focus us.
I think this is where the acknowledgements come in. You know, maybe at the beginning, just saying clear, like we acknowledge that the Stockton Arts League, you know, historically is a white organization, you know, and you know, steps have been made to change that. You know, it no longer reflects that history, and you know, we are committed to. I don't know.
I love that. I was just typing, Elazar. As Stockton's oldest arts organization is important, we make our commitment to justice, diversity, and inclusion in the arts. We acknowledge our role in the past in excluding people and their art, and we are committed to restoring trust and equity in our community. So, you know, again, we can change specifics in language and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to get like the general idea in there.
I like it. I would
I
say,
like that.
I would say as one of, because art's still like the symphony's older, and I would just say as one of Stockton's old arts, if you say oldest visual arts organization, then you could say that. But I would say
One.
as one of.
Yeah, I don't know if the symphony is older or older.
Well, you've got the symphony and you've got the, you know, the Hagen,
Theater,
and, you know, they're all arts organizations.
Yeah. We're old. We get it.
We're old.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of history, you know, and from this board, it's going to be completely unknown of what has happened before, but people do remember their experience with the gallery or the
They
Stockton Art
do.
League. So, you know, I hear from people, it's like, oh yeah, you guys did this to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. You know, but now we're doing this.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know, and weirdly enough, I also heard from people, it's like, well, we used to do this and you guys don't do that anymore. And I'm like, oh, too bad.
We
Maybe we'll see you next
changed like
time.
everyone
Maybe we'll see you
else.
next time. I don't know.
We're evolving.
Yeah.
I love that. One of the books I have is called Emergent Strategy, and one of the kind of principles is that like the ways that we're all like the ways of relating and being kind of better and more just and more liberated is always emergent. It's always coming through. So yeah, we're gonna be better, hopefully. Not to put any hierarchies on things, but yeah.
In part of this equity statement, I'd like to include, collaborative work with other organizations, not
Yeah.
to name names necessarily, but we could. It's just more that it's, the Art League is beyond its own space.
Mm-hmm.
And we have members that participate in other organizations, and that's okay. I feel like in Stockton, it's like, oh, you can only be a part of one organization. I'm like, that's not true.
But yeah, since we're all part of like 3.
Yeah. But this is kind of new.
Is it?
I think so.
Ooh, I found a good definition of cultural equity. I think we're missing a lot of these somewhere. I'm going
So
to,
definitions, like what do we see as?
hold on. It includes a lot that, yeah, I don't know if you can read that well.
Great.
Did you drop it in the document?
Yeah, but it's
Bottom?
kind of small. Hold on a second.
Beginning?
I can just move it down here.
Yeah,
was
but I'll put it up
trying
on the screen so we can all read it. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I mean, it's just notes just to adapt it. I think it's good that this one includes citizenship status,
Yeah.
religion,
Oh, it's a
um,
picture. Got it.
et cetera, et cetera. I know it's a picture, but the document I got it off was not.
That's not gonna work. Okay, hold on.
Oh, I know why. It's because it's from a Word document.
Of course.
Found
Okay,
it.
that's a little bigger if that helps.
I could probably.
Text size.
And the other part that we haven't really addressed also is disability. I think we already have some of the socioeconomic status language in our about page, which we can always move around. And I don't think we've ever really addressed citizenship or religion within the arts.
It just made me think, as soon as you said disability, I thought, wow, what if you had a show that was just specifically for sighted people, for blind people, and it was all about feeling the art?
Fun. Here, I think I have a better. I don't know why. That's so weird. There. Get rid of that now.
This is a good point right here, Amy.
Yeah, I like this one. I got this one from, it is a free template, editable template from Americans for the Arts.
And here I see this part a lot, including but not limited to those who are historically underrepresented based on, and that's kind of like the template language that I see in a lot of just full statements, and like they don't really go into more than that. And I think we're kind of addressing that. We want to be a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
A little bit more personal in this language.
Are we just allowed to copy and paste that though?
This
True, yeah.
one I got from,
yeah.
I found this one from the, what was it called again? What did I just say? Americans for the Arts, and it's an editable template versions to, they made it available for people to adapt. I've been teaching all day and I just cannot talk at this time of the day.
You just made a really important contribution, so that's good.
Yes,
Again,
thank you.
I say, focus on the conversation we're having and not on this document as much. It's getting filled up with a lot of really great content. And that, you know, the fact that we're having the conversation, there are people that do not want to have this conversation in the group. I'm sure in the members going, wait a minute, this is not what we signed up for. They're going to say that. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Just gave you the link of where I found that editable.
Alicia, are you still there?
Yes,
What do you think
Yep.
of all this?
I don't know where I'm at, but I'm here.
Okay.
Are you seeing the screen, Alicia?
Pardon?
Are you seeing the screen or just listening in?
No, I see it.
Oh, okay.
I find myself getting a little stuck in I'm trying to, we are a public art space and we are open for anyone to show. And then I want to say we do not discriminate based on, or we welcome everyone regardless of the, blah, 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 blah. But I'm feeling like I'm getting a little stuck because I know it's like not enough to just say we're open to everyone. It needs to go like beyond that to, like the thing that Paula was saying about like the, the people standing on the different like platforms or whatever, to like rectifying, not just being like we're open to everyone, we don't have a problem here kind of thing.
The
I
only
don't know
thing,
if you have any thoughts there.
what we've done is we've referred the final decision up to our executive director. We've said that over and over again, and we use that as a way at least to reach some type of decision on something that people may not be agreeable on.
I think also like the function of this document isn't going to be to take those steps. The function of this document is to present to, granting bodies, and then, us having the discussion, and then having the document to use as a mirror will be, functional to one edge. But I think, Amal, to your question, some of those more functional and granular questions are going to be the real work that comes after the document. I think maybe sometimes just saying it works because like the document is there, but like the thoughts that get put into motion around it are going to be what leads to the real change, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to write it right now. But yeah, I feel you, and I'm like glad that we've kind of started on the process.
Well, Amal, is it something like a statement of the intrinsic value of artistic expression for all human beings, that it is an important life function like breathing or eating? I mean, people were made to create. It's something about the intrinsic value of artistic expression, and we believe that. And so we're going to create a platform and an opportunity for that to happen. But some kind of statement about the benefit of it.
I love that. People are made to create, and we affirm humanities. Humanity gets kind of humanities. You said it so beautifully. Intrinsic. What did you say? Like, do you see where I'm writing?
Need to create.
Intrinsic need to create and share.
And that's why you can't have elementary school teachers having kids make hand printed turkeys. Let them make their own turkey.
Ew.
I know, Amy, like, no.
One of my biggest pet peeves is seeing a room full of all the same stuff. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
make them all different. Express your creativity.
I mean, take it back. You don't even have to go back that far in our history where nothing is mass produced. You made your own clothes. You made your own yarn, your own thread, your own. If you wanted your utensils, you carved them. If you wanted them to be artistic, you carved your initials on them. I mean, you made your own everything. You farther back you go, the human being is a designer, is a creator. And then we get into those notions of talent. Somebody is better at it than you are. And so, that's kind of,
Totally ignoring that we all have different ideas of what's better and what looks good.
right. And then so the arbiters of taste and talent and beauty, that's,
Who are they? They're the people with money and influence. Screw them all.
Amy's still talking. She's still talking.
Um,
I'm also gonna add carceral status as well, or yeah, like formerly or presently incarcerated.
I'm gonna just maybe do a quick temperature check on our discussion here because it seems like we've got a good amount of content looking at the acknowledgements, recognitions, but I'm wondering if we want to maybe try to pull out a few specific commitments and maybe check in. I mean, maybe the question is a functional one, like, are we gonna just do a bunch of brainstorming and then who's going to write the final document, I guess is the question. Is there going to be another meeting for that, or Jess, were you planning on just kind of pulling everything together after this?
I can pull this together. I don't mind doing that. I don't want to pull it together too far away from this grant deadline, just so we have something kind of fine-tuned before we just have to submit it. But maybe I should wait till Amal does that discussion on the 31st.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
I can get it mostly kind of dialed in and then
Yeah.
not finalized.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's all in there. I don't think we're leaving anything out. I think it's all
No.
right there somewhere,
The draft that just needs to be finalized.
like clay on the
once we
wheel
open
right
it
there.
up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
We
I'm
wanna
thinking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We want to say we're going to be inclusive to allow other people on the next Zoom to at least add to this to get what their feelings are.
So kind of rough draft.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I would say it's
I'd
draft.
superimpose that structure of the county, of the California Arts Council, so that you start with who we are, what we are. I mean, go back to that California Arts Council one, and then just fit all of this that's been done into that. That whole thing. Well, that's not it. Where is it? What you showed us before.
Right here.
Yeah, purpose.
The
Then
ratio
we've
of
got that.
these
Then this part
pictures.
said, then the native land acknowledgement separated out, then the mission vision, you already have a mission. And then just keep going and take all this language and fit it in.
And looking at
And
all
this
the
is what it looks like.
and looking at all the extra we have here, like I know this all won't fit into that, a paragraph or two of a statement, but
You
kind
can
of
always
bringing
write
up some of
more.
these notes that Amal had put in there. Maybe this is kind of the tangible examples is by us kind of painting a visual picture of what Stockton is to the arts and putting that on the website. So, we have the different cultures represented within Stockton and we name them. And we talk about some of the changes that have happened in the arts. And that can kind of give some context.
Well, if you're gonna, there was a time when they said there were over 100 languages spoken in Stockton. And so if you're gonna put down everybody, I mean,
Not
there's a lot,
everybody.
there's a whole world of people, a group of people that aren't on there right now. I mean, you're
Yeah.
really,
Well, I think this is kind of like by acknowledging the pulse of Stockton, being that, we have hundreds of languages spoken in Stockton. We have cultural centers throughout, we have,
Aren't we like the most diverse city in the country?
yeah, but how,
pretty damn near.
Or you could qualify for just to name a few. You have that, so you have other people, but you just can't list 115.
I know, because
Oh,
you've
yes,
got
you can.
Pakistanis, you've got Afghanis, you've got Arabs, you've got,
Irish.
people that consider themselves Persian still, even though they're Iranian, whose families say, no, we're Persian.
Refugees, yes.
You've got Turks, you've got, man, it's unbelievable.
See,
You've got Fijians, you've got, Yeah.
Amy, the link that you put towards the Alberta one, I think we should, Jessica, do you mind opening that? It's really great, and I feel like it's doing a lot of what we want to do, but making
Okay,
it
let me
smoother.
stop sharing it. This, so then I can find the link. That's the doc. Where was it? Oh,
Check out this link for wording. Yeah.
hold on.
And also I like the length of that one too, because it says what needs to be said, but without, it's not worried about being too short or too long, It
It
says
says
what needs-
this one. I'm not even sharing the right one, am I?
uh
Okay. Let's see.
Mm,
Alberta one. No, not that one. She
It
wrote,
wasn't-
she put it as a comment.
Yeah.
I can just drop it in the chat if you want.
Hold on.
Here. I just dropped in the chat.
Oh, too many windows open. Let me look at the chat. There we go.
I do that all day. I have 20 open right now. Tabs, not windows.
I like this part.
Yeah. I also like that they start off with under the dots, fostering a culture of continuous listening, learning, and improvement, where we embrace challenge and are open and willing to take steps needed for positive change. That's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd use that line right there. I'd take that line.
I mean, what is this Canadian, right?
And I think this is kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah, though I think, of course they're like probably a really big museum and we have like one staff, so but yeah, something like that.
An equity committee can be just members.
That's a great point. Actually, it probably should be.
Jared, I shared another one in the chat that I've been looking at. I really appreciate this one because they've done a really good job of keeping the language extremely simple. Like this may be the most accessible one that I found yet.
What is this one from? Oh, Island Press. I was going, wow, this is a book one. Good. I should write that one down.
I know, and I feel like a lot of these bullet points, they kind of apply to the gallery as well.
language of that one is more accessible than the language of the Alberta one, or just more palatable and a little like, you know, in a way that's not actually helpful for students. That's just my opinion.
This one definitely doesn't have an edge to it, but it's certainly extremely accessible, and just kind of having a few different points to touch on within the frame of it, because sometimes we get so caught up in saying the words over and over that we it becomes less accessible.
I really like the end where it says, we consider this to be a living document and we welcome and encourage feedback. That's a good way to get out of being sued.
But I can also see how they could really use this to look at the metrics, from year to year, and say whether or not they are achieving what they're putting forth in their equity statement. Sometimes if the language is too abstracted, you can never really prove that you're doing it.
I think this section right here, and this is the tangible item. So this is to do this, here's what we're doing. And that we haven't really discussed yet in our statement.
Well, yeah, which is a good question, because I don't even know what the gallery is doing this year. Like,
well, I would like to reference more things we have done in the last 2 years, and where we're building from that.
I don't see, if Seeks 2 makes it sound like you're going to, I would say that, is committed ongoing improvement in the board, the programming, the audiences.
And I think this one,
and you can acknowledge what you're doing already.
This one is like an actively present and support, and like this is moving as they're doing it, moving.
Yeah, this one says overarching highlights of how we will do this include
right here, yeah.
I feel like it's like the present perfect, like the ongoing, as opposed to actually it's not present perfect, but like
haven't done it yet.
We are doing kind of thing.
Right.
That's
And
future present perfect. I don't know.
And that was one of the things they brought up in the webinar, which was that, the process is to at least start. And as the other document saying, it's a living document, it's going to be growing. And the council is recognizing that, like, some places are going to be, just starting with the question and having this meeting like we're doing today, where others have been doing this already for 10 years and already had, policies in place that were, very clearly on their website saying this is what we're doing. And that's why they're also offering to kind of give a kind of an analysis of where you are in the organizations, like how do you have your statement out there? What is it saying? Where can you improve? How can you improve as an organization? And they're just trying to foster that conversation right now. But yeah, so I think we could highlight the things that we're working on.
The strategic plan, the initiatives.
Yeah, I'm adding for one of those. We are prioritizing, because they all seem to have the ing. We are prioritizing collaboration with other diverse organizations from different sectors and ethnic affinity groups in the San Joaquin Valley. I'm gonna put in, we're trying to like secure funding for different people's, like the Stockton Arts Commission. I don't know if there's something there, but trying to like say the stuff we're already doing, basically. Ethnic. We're also, as of, we're facilitating workshops with our members around like being an equitable community or something like that, which we are.
I just looked up the Alvin Ailey Dance Company because I thought, okay, what is a black theater company, black dance company doing about an equity statement? I mean, and trust me, they have them. This isn't specifically them, but it's from some emeritus dancers that used to dance with Alvin Ailey, and now it's the Kansas City Friends of the Alvin Ailey Dance Company. And one of the things that just, because what you just said, Amal, they have tuned in for fascinating conversations with Miss Jameson. So Judith Jameson is the dancer, facilitated by, they will discuss racial challenges Miss Jameson faced and overcame in her rise to the top and how she paved a way for others to follow in her footsteps. So a series of like speaker events from artists overcoming their challenges or guiding new, providing mentorship and role model for other people. So it doesn't always have to be about art. It can be about the process of becoming an artist.
I'd say accessible art education and resources
Mm-hmm.
is one.
And helping
Membership
people
cost.
find their artistic voices.
I think a membership campaign at some point would be great, where we're like specifically kind of, or maybe I'll just do taking like stock of our membership and past shows, so we just have a better idea of where we're at, I guess.
We do that every year.
Oh, perfect. There we go. That's something we can include. What exactly should I say for that, Jessica?
We're always reassessing the type of art that is shown in the gallery or the artists represented, and we seek out emerging artists and underrepresented artists to show their work, basically.
You could say more accurately reflect Stockton's diversity.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I think that goes back to initiative 1. It's areas we're not reaching. I mean, right now, I think that on our commitment, like you can list every initiative as our commitment
Pretty
yeah.
much.
So I guess maybe we could do another temperature check here. We've been having this discussion for about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
How are we feeling about the content that we've put together? Is there more for us to do all together, brainstorming, or is there enough there, Jess and Amal, that you feel comfortable going into the meeting next Sunday?
Definitely, yeah. And I'm comfortable, like, I feel like it would be great to get as many eyes on this as we can, as whatever is, like, ongoing, but at least a couple different people to look at it before grants and stuff, though of course respecting whatever timeline you have on that. So I'm happy to like do an edit. I'm sure Jessica will, and then we can maybe if you have any suggestions for other people we want to have like look through it and see if there's any issues or bad phrasing or something like that, or ways to make it clearer.
Yeah, my time frame for grants is February 1st. So it's basically taking notes during our discussion on the 31st and then making small adjustments. Or within a day adjustments.
Yeah, and Jessica, I think I'm really thinking that whatever, like let's maybe try to finish it in the coming week or whatever for the grants, and then whatever discussion we have on like the 31st, like which might not be that much. I don't know who's gonna come. Might just be the same people. We can always include that for like the future since this is a living document. It doesn't have to be like that. Doesn't have to be for the deadline. That can just be for the purpose of the equities. For equity.
Yeah, and I wasn't really sure like how you're going to start that conversation. If it was going to be talking about like more of a general conversation about equity in the arts and what does that mean to members, and more of a discussion like that, or were you going to actually use this document and saying like this is the stance of the Art League?
I think I'm more gonna try to, because I'm aware that a lot of people aren't comfortable discussing these things or haven't had the space to do it, and I'm guessing. So I'm more seeing this as like a forum kind of where I can ask open-ended questions, just hopefully to get people talking. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the news, and I think it's probably gotten some folks thinking about stuff they haven't, like, in different ways or new ways, and just to kind of open the space to have that to reflect on it and maybe ask questions like, well, what does equity in the arts mean to you, kind of thing. I have a lot of opinions. I'm going to try to like actually not share them to not lead with them, at least. Y'all know me, but to kind of have that take a backseat just to get people talking about it, because I feel like for the membership, even if they're just talking about it, that's a great start.
And I feel like part of the goal of this can also be about demystification.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, what does it mean? What is equity? What is diversity? Is that bullshit? Excuse me. Or there's so many different ideas, and just kind of getting to the point that this is just the language that we're using to reflect the fact that we're trying to work on these things. There's problems, and we all just want to get better. And so here's the language. What do you guys think of the problems? What do you think some solutions could be? Really, I think a informal sort of demystification kind of, hearing their perspectives.
Yeah.
Well, I have to ask a very pointed question because of the makeup of this particular group right now includes 4 members of the Stockton Arts Foundation. Do you, who are not on the foundation, feel comfortable with us taking this and launching the same? We only have 4 other people to include, and there's the whole Arts Foundation, because a lot of this, just take out the term art gallery, and its inclusivity and its relation to the land and to the people and to the diversity is all the same.
Yes, agreed.
I would just say, who was it that talked about the purpose of the gallery in the beginning? I don't know if that was you, Paula, or Jessica, but the foundation's for funding and getting monies. So I feel like,
Right, we have to do that, but I'm just saying that 4 of us here are on that other group, and so much of this is going to be the same, even if we pull in the other 4 voices and ask them to weigh in on it and start the conversation over all again. I mean, do you agree? Yes, it's funding based, but don't you agree that a lot of what is said here would be pertinent to the foundation?
Pertinent, yes, but it's not just a difference in words, things like economic redistribution of wealth, capital, resources, and reparations is very different from what we're doing basically, and that's essential for the foundation.
I think Paul is just talking about this as a starting point.
Yeah.
This is a building piece.
No, I agree. I
Definitely
just don't want you to feel like, I mean, I'm not sitting here to do one job. I'm sitting here to do three. To do this again for Tulleyburg Press, which I love seeing that Island Press one, because that fits, and to do this again with the Stockton Arts Foundation. But you're right. Could you put that one line in there that you just said at the top of this? That reparations and financial redistribution and all that. Could you, Mal, could you just throw that in there for me?
Yeah.
Talk about eloquently stated.
You can put it there, or, yeah.
It's not really part of Art League, but it's certainly part of the
Foundation.
foundation, yeah. I mean, right now, for the people who are involved in these discussions, I mean, again, we all have limited time and brain power during some of these days that we're still teaching and everything else, and I really appreciate that 4 of us on the Arts Foundation are in this conversation.
There it is. Okay, age.
Yeah, we're only missing
Jasmine, Sandra,
Paul,
Saul,
Pam,
yeah,
and
Sandy.
Sandy.
Jasmine.
Yeah, Jasmine, Saul, Pam, and Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're wrapping up. I had one actually brief order of business. I don't know if it's just better in an email, but I have someone who is interested in attending an upcoming Stockton Arts League board meeting. Like she is, Yasmin Sabor is an artist who did a workshop with Chai and joined some crits, and she's like she's a textile artist, an elder. She's African American and is really has a lot, like a lot of the things she's been saying about the Arts Foundation and arts organizing in Stockton is just super in alignment with everything we've been talking about. I'm like, we need to get y'all in the room. So she's interested, if not necessarily in being a board member, but in joining a committee or something like that potentially. So I'd love to get her in the room, maybe at our next meeting.
What's the name again?
Yasmin Sabor.
Not Latour. Sabor?
Sabor,
With an
yeah,
S?
it's A-B-U-R. And she also had a story about, again, being rejected from the arts like league, you know, back in the day or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Next meeting's like the 4th?
This is
First
Alicia.
week,
Can I
yeah.
say something about, can you, Jessica, can you bring that down? The part you had, no, I'm sorry, the part you had highlighted up there, down right there. You know, it's kind of restoring trust. That
Okay.
sounds, that doesn't, to me, doesn't sound good because I know what you're saying, but it should be worded different.
Do you want to move that?
Trust is,
Did everyone understand what Alicia was saying?
Oh, is Alicia talking to us? I thought Alicia was talking to someone else.
No, she's talking to us. She's saying that this the way it's worded, we're wanting to reestablish trust, but the way it's worded right now isn't really getting that across. Is that right, Alicia?
well, yeah, because I know that there were some issues before, but it just, to me, it would question why I would want to belong. Because there was a problem. Is the problem still there? How do I know?
Right, yeah, it's negative, very negative.
It's I know I'm kind of rambling, but that part just sticks out to me.
So you could just say committed to promoting equity in our community, promoting trust instead of restoring.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's better.
Alicia,
Restoring is-
do you think what you're saying is a language issue, or do you think it's more of like an action issue in terms of what we can do to restore trust with this document?
I think it's the word, the language.
I think the first part of it, Amal, does do what you want it to do. We acknowledge our role in the past in excluding people and their art. That's the fact. That's the history. That's what you want to ameliorate. And we are committed to promoting trust and equity in our community, or promoting, furthering trust, promoting, restoring does make it sound like she said.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, did you guys have a bankruptcy, or did you have, I mean, what
it
happened?
was
in that
taken
whole-
away.
Yeah,
To
Building
forging.
sounds better than restoring.
Okay. Oh, you're just
Anyone-
talking about that word there. Okay.
Restoring.
forging, building.
Trust
of
me,
those words.
building is just the most simple. Building trust.
And not to like displace or not take ownership of our own role, but we also are acknowledging the institutional art world exclusion of people and their art. Not so when it says our role, I'm like, yeah, but there's just this, not to
Yeah.
not take ownership, but there's just this huge cloud of the art world that even Stockton's not allowed to be a part of.
Yeah.
That's why
because
I
we're
like
Stockton.
Yeah.
Right.
I liked that link that I included there because it does make it bigger than just the gallery.
Yeah. In addition to the I really like my brain, like I promise this is my writing right now is just a whole mess. My
No,
brain
you got a lot
all
done.
over
Got a
the
lot done.
Yeah.
Got a lot done.
in addition to the violence. To and equal. All right, now this one's kind of long. I really like. I'm thinking, Jessica. I don't know what you think, but I want to take like what is it? Today's Thursday. I want to like take some time tomorrow to just go over basically like the kind of document, compare it to the format of a couple, and
Mhm.
caress the language and the structure. And if you want, then you can go over it and we can send it to everyone else and see where we're at there. I feel like this is good as a draft.
Yeah,
How does that sound?
that sounds good.
Okay.
I know you're probably not the morning, right? So, just how long do you think you want to work on it?
I can have it to you by Saturday morning. Does that work for you, or do you
Oh,
need it?
okay. No, Saturday morning's fine.
Okay.
And
I
I'd say go ahead and create like a new document and just kind of pull from this, and we'll just use this as the notes page,
Perfect.
and then kind of work from there.
Yeah.
Because we almost have like a starting of 3 separate statements.
Yeah. Maybe we can send this out. Do we want to send this? I don't know if anyone else cares, but send out the notes to the rest of the board and see if anyone has any contributions. How do we feel about that?
I think we should fine tune it first and then send the notes with the fine tuned version.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if I open this up, I'm like, what is like, I see
Okay.
there's a beginning of a paragraph, but then we go into this other like notes. And that kind of seems like a statement. And then we go into like all these extra like jotting down points and if I didn't have the council's document in front of me, I
Yeah,
wouldn't know
it's
what
too
that was.
convoluted.
Okay. Maybe then by like Monday or something, when we have the kind of finessed draft, we can send it out ahead of the general like membership meeting, I guess.
Right. And then anyone can write in comments or, add more things to this after today. Maybe just highlight it so we know that's something new. If you think about something, wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, that line should be in there.
Does anybody else have anything to add to this discussion right now?
Sorry, I'm responding to a student. No, I'm very pleased with everybody's input and the fact that these collaborative writing spaces make this all happen so quickly is just a dream.
Well, then I guess we can call the meeting for now, and then we'll all be in touch about this in the next few days.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm
Thanks,
happy.
everybody.
Good job, everybody.
Good.
Enjoy
Thank you
your-
for inviting.
Oh, thanks for joining us, Alicia.
Pardon?
Thank you for joining us. It was great to have you.
Oh, this was really interesting. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I can't find my Zoom stuff.